Well, welcome to the Monday Night Coaches Show. I'm Todd Robinson, along with Ryan Robinson and head coach Brad LaPlante. We do this every Monday night at 6 o'clock. We're live from the Hippo Cafe in Hutto, sponsored by the Hippo Cafe, as well as Kangaroo and Koala Cooling. We appreciate Scott and Stacy Feller and what they do to sponsor this show every week and be able to bring not only the audio, but we talked about it last week. We're video stars now, getting to do the coaches show. All your friends up in Minnesota get to see your face.
All three of them. I like it.
Yeah. Hey, get this. So we're on SHN Sports Network now. Rob Hipp, the guy one of the co-owners that started SHN Sports, he texted me earlier this afternoon and said we had almost 2,000 folks watching the game on Saturday. He said it was one of the largest SHN high school broadcasts they've ever had. So
that's awesome.
Picked a good game to have a lot of folks watching.
Well, when you're an hour or two away and people have things going on, they might be in between a volleyball game or a soccer match, whatever it is, all that, when they can view in and see us whooping up, it's good.
Labor Day weekend, so probably a little harder, and it's kind of hot, and folks maybe wanted to just stay in the AC.
Only lost 5 pounds this year. It was 7 or 8 the year before. It was cool this year compared to last year. Well, same temperature, 68 degrees.
It felt pretty good.
You guys in the press box.
The press box was a nice, cool perfect. 70. Yeah, it was nice. We don't know why y'all were complaining about the heat so much.
We were loving it. No, this year was great. Last year was hot. This year was good.
Well, you had your back to the sun this year. You were on the other side of the field. Last year you were facing the sun.
Right.
So probably made a difference.
Yes, sir.
In the end, it didn't impact the game, though. Came out with a big W, first game of the year. Good win. 41-21 over a West Mesquite team that had one of the top running backs in the state, Ty Jordan. That guy came in highly recruited, one of the best running backs. And we'll talk a little bit about the defense here in a little bit and the job they did to shut down Ty Jordan. But a great win to start the year. And you know, we'll talk about this as we go too. But just the maturing of a team from play one till the end of the game was one of the most dramatic I've ever seen in watching football.
The ebbs and flows are in every game, but that first one, kind of the unknown, a lot of new faces. You knew there might be some more, but that first quarter was rough.
Well, at least the first half of the first quarter.
It was, but you saw our players didn't panic. The coaches didn't panic either. Okay, let's get it right.
Sure.
We'll get it together and just keep on fighting as our teams always do.
Talk a little bit about, so leading up to the game, you know, we talked last week at length about all the guys that you replaced, you know, Chase and Chooks and Caleb, which Caleb, by the way, was watching. He messaged in on the YouTube channel that he was watching us, so that was cool. But all the guys that you lost, and you replaced a lot of players. So some of these guys, it was their probably their first real foray into a varsity football game. What was the feel? Yeah, one, I guess, here when you're getting on the bus, driving up there, getting the locker room. You know, could you tell from some of the younger guys this was they had some nerves going?
No, I thought our preparation was really, really well by all the guys because we were there at 6:15, had breakfast, 6:30, tried to get on the road by 7 or 7:15. Everybody was there, ready to go. They knew the routine of packing the bags. It wasn't like we got there and 17 guys were missing knee pads and 4 helmets and all
pants.
That. It's happened before.
Didn't that happen last year?
It happened before. There was one that needed to be replaced, but that was because of a hole, so that one doesn't count. But, no, I think that's just because the brotherhood that our kids have created in the locker room, they just take care of each other. You saw the older guys just last-minute reminders before we get on the bus and just kind of what we do. And we've gone through some of the pregame routine before in a smaller sense with the scrimmage, of course, with Vista Ridge. But our guys handled everything from A to Z leading up to the game and just good leadership in the locker room. Of course, Drew, he says he's 1-0 this year because he had the pregame prayer since Pastor Mike was not there. So I don't know if that means they're going to have to rock, paper, scissors every game now or what they're going to do. And, you know, we just our theme for pregame was expectations because this is a new team. It's a new year. Our seniors are going to be leading us. Our coaches just did a phenomenal job getting our kids ready, and it just showed throughout pregame and leading up to the game.
I think Drew obviously has to keep praying until it doesn't work anymore, right?
That's going to be between those guys.
And then if something does happen, if you happen to stub your toe along the way, then it's his fault for however he prays for it that game.
We'll bring in some BCD for him, I guess. Blame, complain, defend.
That's exactly
above the line stuff.
Well, again, this is the Coaches Show. We do this every Monday night live from the Hippo Cafe. It's sponsored by Kangaroo, Koala Cooling, and Hippo Cafe. We certainly invite folks to come out and join us. It's a great time here at the cafe. Got a good crowd here tonight,
yes,
and a couple of players that we'll have on here in just a little bit that we'll talk to about the game. But certainly, if you can't be here, then we enjoy having folks tune in and watch. Well, let's talk a little bit about. I think the first thing I want to talk about is the defense, and we've mentioned this the last few weeks, and I said folks have been asking me, what do we look like? What are we going to be like this year? I said I think it really is going to start with our defense. The past few years everybody's wanted to talk about our offense. We lost a lot of playmakers, but you were returning 8 starters on a defense that was solid last year, and these guys are going to have to keep you in games until the offense really starts clicking and hitting the rhythm, which they actually did during this past game. But just talk a little bit about the defense. They were instantly put on a spot, right? I mean, very first possession, you get the turnover. They get one play from inside the 10-yard line. They score. And now you're going to have to lean on your defense a little bit, right, because you're down 7-0. But just talk about the mentality of that defense stepping up and the game that they played.
Well, that's just the maturity that group is going to have throughout the course of the year. There's going to be 3 and outs by the offense. Something's going to happen with a block punt. There's going to be interceptions or fumbles. That's part of the game. So when they run out to that field and that mentality is ready that, hey, we're going to get that next 3 and out, or maybe they got the ball at the 35, short field going in, holding them to a field goal is a win. Just if they can be mature and have that mentality, which they've done, and they've led us throughout practice and the whole fall camp, they've just been really, really stellar and been mature. It's been really, really good. And so to start out that game, that was a test right there. I don't know how much more we could have thrown at with, 6 or 7 penalties, a turnover, a short field, being down, just to test what our group is going to have for expectations this year. I think that was quite enough to have them pressed right away. And our defense handled it really, really well. The communication on the field for this early was probably better than any game up to maybe game 6 or 7 last year. So just on the back end and have different, formations and motions to line up to. A lot of times if you defend 50 or 60 plays the first game with multiple formations, you might line up wrong 6 or 7 times or not be in the best adjustment that you want to be. I think there was only 2 this game that we weren't in the best position we want to be. So hats off to our players because we're on the sideline. They're the ones getting us lining up, with Jason Vogelpool there as our Mike backer, getting the front lined up, and, Pinelli and Xavier Phoenix and Brock Bueno on the back end getting the DBs lined up. That was a really, really good start there.
So start off, and just to recap for those that might not have seen it or heard about the game, you win the toss. You won the toss and elected to receive.
They won the toss, deferred.
Oh, they
to
deferred.
Us. Yes.
So you get the ball first, nonetheless. First play, or first pass play of Grayson's career as a starting varsity quarterback, throws a pick.
Completion.
He did. That's true.
It wasn't an incomplete pass.
Yeah. And I will tell you, we had said before the game started, we said, hey, both these teams, they were starting a sophomore quarterback. Yes. You were starting a sophomore quarterback. Both teams, had some young guys on offense, but they get the first defensive play. They get that pick, and Bryce actually told Grayson it was a great tackle. Grayson made the first tackle of the year for the Hippos.
You
How about that?
Stay out of there.
Yeah, for one series, he was the leading tackler for the Hippos. But anyway, and then they get it into the hands of Ty Jordan, and they're everything running back, score first play. You're down 7-0. Get the ball, and you get a nice little drive on the next possession. You kind of start seeing things offensively starting to click a little bit. Then I think we had a missed field goal or blocked field goal. We'll talk about that.
Did we have one of those on Saturday?
We'll talk about that a little bit later on too. And anyway, they take the ball then on offense, and lo and behold, we've been saying defense is going to have to keep us in games. And sure enough, get a tip pass. Jordan Phoenix picks it off and takes it to the house. So our first tackle of the game was by of the season was by a quarterback, and our first touchdown of the game was by a defensive back.
Could be an
What
interesting
kind of
year,
odds
huh?
would you have gotten on that in Vegas that was going to happen?
Yeah, that's just might be how it is this year, Todd.
But
Get used to it.
how did that just change the mentality and the feel on the sidelines? Okay, now we're back in this game. We're tied at 7.
Well, just to get back to 0, you could just tell the kids started to relax. And anytime you get a defensive or a special team score, the odds are in your favor that you're going to win. So it's some big statistics with that. If you get a special team score, a defensive score, and if you score on your first drive of the game and first drive of the second half, when you get some of those things happening, your win percentages go up astronomically.
Wow.
Pretty big word, too, for a Monday night there, wasn't it?
Astronomically.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. On a holiday Monday.
You're right.
You weren't even, working today.
We worked. Kids were up there making me work all day.
Oh, were they?
Yeah. They wanted
You were making them work.
No, they were making us. They wanted to win. Let's go.
So that's good.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just the mentality that changed at that point, and all of a sudden you're back in the game. Talk a little bit about what you guys did to bottle up Ty Jordan again. I think he's I don't know if he's committed to UT, but he's recruited by a lot of folks.
Pretty much everybody in the country.
Yeah, he's highly recruited, and UT certainly after him. But, you guys just really, outside of the late in the game, when you had you were getting some second teamers, some playing time, and they left their first team in the entire time. But outside of that,
he had 31 yards at halftime.
I think so. They had 100 yards total offense
yeah.
at halftime, 101, I believe.
And then they went backwards because at one point in the third quarter, the first team defense had held them to 90 yards, I think.
So did you guys come in with a game plan to really focus on him and stop him, and we're going to stop them?
Well, you always want to make a team one-dimensional. So anytime you can stop the run, that your percentages are great there. So if you would have walked in on prep day where all the defensive formations are up there, you saw number 6. So we knew that he is absolutely the key to them, because if their running game gets going, then their play action gets going, their RPO spread game gets going, and we just know in defensive you hear the coaches say it all the time: run flat, squeeze, do your job, line up right. If you can do all those things, even though he's a really, really good back, if we take care of what we can control, good things happen. And in his longest run, I think we probably played a little too vertical into the offensive line and not played flat, and we did not squeeze as much. So when he did get some yardage or bigger gains, not the 2 and 3 yard type, we felt we were at fault, not because they did something really, really good. We just know we weren't as good as we could be. And you're going to have that. That they're high school kids. But when you have, a Sugg or a Lordswell or a Jason or whoever it is coming off the field and say, I didn't get into position where I'm supposed to, that's a good mature group right there. It's great that they're just going to take ownership, and they're going to get it right the next time they're out there.
Okay, so one of the things I want to do this year in coaches shows is when you use football terminology, and we've got folks like Katie and Billy sitting in the audience. So when you say squeeze and flat, explain that to. Not that they don't know. I'm sure they know. Yeah, they know.
We're just using them as an example.
Of course.
So if I'm the left side defensive end and here's the offensive tackle, wherever he goes, I'm going to read his block reaction. So if he blocks down, I should be on his hip, squeezing it to make sure that somebody, a fullback, coming to block me or an opposite side guard to kick me out, I've squeezed to cover my gap. So that's what squeeze means.
You got that?
Good. Yeah. They could have explained it just the same.
I agree.
And then you said flat.
We're talking about playing flat. So if your quarterback is 5 yards deep and the running back hands it to the defense's right, I'm not going to chase at this angle. I'm going to chase at this angle, because if Ryan goes flat and I get too vertical, gaps are created. If we're both flat down the line of scrimmage, whenever he decides to cut back, we're in our gaps and in our lanes.
And it seemed like that was defense did such a great job. In fact, we commented on that during the game, is that stringing him out, just constantly stringing him out, eventually he runs out of bounds.
He does.
Right? The out of bounds is your defender over there, and he had nowhere to go.
Right, and it gives the other defensive backs, if you're weak safety and free safety, it gets them time to get down, to box him in and fit up in the alley and get to their run fits too. Because if the hole opens up early and he cuts back in a hurry, they may not be in position as they're 10, 12, 15 yards deep. But if we string it out, give it another second and a half, they are in better position to fit where they should in their gap against the run fit.
And I'm sure you love watching game film afterwards and seeing how many of your guys were swarming to the football, how many times that basically your whole team's over there in trying to make the tackle.
There were not a lot of times where you could look in the camera on our Hutto film where there's only 2 guys there. It was 5, 6, 7, 8 getting there, and when the play is going far right, we're hustling with correct angles and doing a great job.
It makes it a little bit difficult for us to figure out who made the tackle, though. So if you could kind of tell them to ease back a little bit.
We'll add 2 more guys to the ball, if anything. We can't take away, buddy.
Tell them to get up and start doing this, like do a chest bump or
chest,
point themselves, so we'll know who made the tackle. No?
Real impressive when kids do that, isn't it, huh?
No, don't do that. Don't do that. We'll just keep saying a team tackle. That everybody was in on that.
Yes, sir.
I think one of the things we noticed, and we've certainly talked about also, is the conditioning of our kids and how hard they work throughout the summer. And you knew going into this, just like last year, you're playing in that kind of heat that you start getting into the third quarter, fourth quarter. The team that is most conditioned is probably the team that's going to come away with the W on that. And I think there was no question who the most conditioned team was on the field.
Definitely no question. And some of that starts with just our coaches and our trainers. We get together and we make a hydration plan for the course of the week. So if it's going to be a cooler game, we might not add in Gatorade or extra water until a Friday. We started Wednesday, if not Thursday, for a Saturday game this week. So to have that, have extra snacks, to have the food timed out appropriately on the trip is big. And just to have all that stuff in the locker room so the guys can grab a bottle of water, go to class. Parents have dropped off stuff and donated too. So there's no question that these guys have, the proper hydration and nutrition ready to go throughout the course of the week. But then you go to the strength staff with Coach Halliburton, and are we doing our sets and percentages right leading up to the season throughout the summer, being ready to go. And then the fact that we did change up some conditioning. It wasn't like we were running 40s and 20s and big gassers. We were actually doing conditioning during the fall camp, and we'll do it for a couple more weeks here as we continue to get into better game shape. We're in good game shape, but we still need to get in better. But we did a timing system where, the average football play is 5 to 7 seconds. So we blow the whistle, they go hard for 5 or 6 seconds, and they have about 14 to 17 seconds off. And they go at any pace that they want. It's no different than they're looking over to get an offensive and defensive signal, and then it's time to play fast again.
Wow.
And so that was something that we did. It might only take 7 minutes, but it's game. That's a long drive. That's an offensive drive for 7 minutes, or a defensive drive trying to stop them for 7 minutes that we've been conditioned in the starting and stopping, ready to go during our fall camp prep.
So are you guys lifting before games this year again?
We did not on this one, just because we would have had to do it at 5:45.
Yeah. And will you?
We will. We absolutely will. So that'll start this Friday as we prep for Liberty Hill, and it's good. Get them out of the seat. Their hamstrings are tight, hips are tight, just to get the blood flowing. And our kids really bought into that, because the first time we did last year was Liberty Hill, and we felt we were good. If we would have went to 2 more overtimes, we thought we would have been good to go. So I think that really in their mindset believe that, okay, the scientific stuff back behind how my body felt at the beginning and the end of the game, really they bought in.
Well, it helps when you have results at the end of the game.
You're right.
Helps them buy in.
Well, talk a little bit about your trainers and the importance that they play, because you guys, you're coaching, you've got enough to worry about. The fact that you can trust your training staff to take care of that part of it all, it's big.
Well, it is.
And it's important hires for you when you're hiring people.
It is. So, Docky's been here for, I think he's on year 15 or 16. He and Pete have been here for, the longest time on our staff, Coach Schmidt. And so he's been a good part of what we're trying to build with that program. We hired Megan this year, been a very good hire. They're a great team. They work really well together. They bounce things off of each other. Strengths and weaknesses really match up with each other really well. And the kids trust them. The kids go to them. Sometimes I'm working out in the morning. The kids don't have to be there till 6, but kids are coming in at 5:30 to get their body right, get treatment to get heated up, to get loosened up before a good practice on a Monday or Tuesday morning, and to see that is really good. And then you add in all the students that are there at 5:45 in the morning, getting all gallons of water mixed up for the guys, and taking out all their equipment and stuff that they need out there on the practice field. We do have David Ecker on the sideline if there is an equipment issue during the game, but Doc and Megan really step up during practice if we have an equipment issue too. So they're pulled in a lot of different directions. They're in on all the meal decisions as far as the timing of it, the quality of it, is the right nutrition, how much do the kids need. And so that they wear a lot of hats too, and they take care of us. The girls and guys in their student athletic training program, they're making us as coaches drink water too, because they know
Good.
That we don't need to be falling out while we're coaching on the sideline. So they're a big part of the football family and really take care of everybody and do a great job.
There was one point in the third quarter the other day, looked out, and Wes Mesquite had a kid down on the field. As obviously he was cramping, and I said, oh, actually they've got another one down. They had two guys, and then it was Bryce. I think Bryce piped in from sideline. He said, yeah, they actually have three. And we looked at on one play, they had three kids laying down on the field all cramping up. And I'm not sure. I don't remember us having a single cramp the whole game, did we?
Remember.
I don't believe so. Well, and it all encompasses everything we've talked about, from weight room, from summer to what we do in fall camp, to the training staff, to the kids just working out, the nutrition, the hydration. It all has to come together to create that perfect storm and do a good job for the kids. And our kids are buying in. So,
well, in a game like that too, you probably in the back of your mind, you worry a little bit about injuries. In that type of a game, you're more likely to come away with injuries probably if you're not hydrated and taking care of things.
Correct, because then when you're not hydrated, you're not going full speed,
right.
You're not at your best, you're not peak performing, and that really is. A lot of injuries happen when it's stepping off the curb, not going full speed or whatever it is. That's really, you see a lot of things happen when your motion is stopped, not when you're running full speed.
A lot of injuries happen when you get to like my age and Bryce's age. Bryce will be double nickels on Wednesday, and then I'm about a week behind him. And you get our age, and injuries happen just waking up in the morning. It's unfortunate. Step out of bed, and your back feels like you need a wheelchair.
We're not 18 anymore, guys.
In our minds, we are. Our bodies sure don't.
Well, he was puffing out his chest and his shoulders on the sideline there when plays came over there. I think he was ready to strap on some pads, and he had at least 3 plays in him, I bet, huh?
Maybe. I don't know, though. He said he picked the wrong game to be the sideline guy. He was a little warm down there.
It was warm.
Yeah, we told him he could come up the box anytime. Talk a little bit about so we talked about the defense, but I want to talk now about the offense. And I talked about this during the game. And from that first play, Grayson throws that interception to the end of the game. And by the end of the game, that interception was probably not even in his mind anymore.
Correct.
He had so forgotten that, and he did as the game went on. And I think to watch a sophomore quarterback, and Ryan even said it a number of times. He said if somebody tuned in the third or fourth quarter, they would have no idea that was his first game to start as quarterback as a sophomore for the Hutto Hippos. He just the maturity, but not just Grayson, the offensive line and the adjustments they made and the growth that they made and maturity they had from play one to the end of the game. That was fantastic.
Well, we played 8 or 9 guys on the offensive line, and second half was definitely better than the first half. And some of that's the cohesion and finding the right mix of guys that are in there. And, just the right side was so much better in the second half. Just their energy, their pad level, feet moving was really, really good. You talk about not remembering that interception. That's the best thing about Grayson being level-headed. By the time he came off, he already knew we should hit the fade route on the outside by our Z receiver. He wasn't freaking out. Nobody else was freaking out. What's the next play call and what am I going to do? That's play the next play. That's our deal, that we're going to have a short-term memory. Things are going to go on whether we made the mistake or they made a fantastic play. It's just going to happen. So to be able to bounce back from that and just lead that next drive, that's what our quarterbacks need to do. We're trying not to, in our system, make them win the game. We want them to manage the offense. And, of course, when we got into that, you saw the results and the confidence of everybody playing around him too.
Well, those guys were West Mesquite. They were throwing a lot of blitzes too, a lot of blitz looks, and that offensive line did a fantastic job of picking them up. Right?
Yeah, it looked like Y'all scored on the same play about 3 or 4 different times.
We did.
Right? They come with a corner blitz.
And then
Y'all
Mackay's
kick him
just
out,
gone.
Mackay cuts it right back in. Is that just good scouting on y'all's part? Or?
Well, we knew that their outside was going to blitz more
Yeah.
than their inside. So, again, when your defensive end is here and the outside backer is here, you just get past that level.
Every
and
time.
It works out well. Of course, early on, we struggled because we didn't get the push at the point of attack where Mackay should be having his aiming point on some of those, and he had to bounce it because we just weren't moving our feet. If we moved that pile 1 yard, he's going to break some of them. You know, there's probably 4 or 5 other ones that he had the correct aiming point. We just didn't do what we needed to quite well enough up front to pop a couple plays. But then, you know, on a lot of those plays, the quarterback has the option, okay, I know this guy's blitzing. He's too far out. I can fake the handoff or not even have the handoff faked and throw it out to the outside as well.
We joked throughout the game that at some point Grayson needed to pull it to show the threat of a run. He tried to scramble at one point. I think he got, about negative 2 or 3 yards. After that, the run was wide open, though.
Well, that's not our mantra yet is going to be running that quarterback a whole bunch as of yet. But if he needs to, he can. And we've got some things in there that when it comes down to it where it's a really, really, really big game and really big downs, those are already in the system. He does a great job with it where he's not going to take a hit if it's an option play or some other design run for him. But he just needs to get down and be safe for right now until we get to those points of the season.
That's the key.
I think probably the happiest person in the stadium besides you that he wasn't running was probably Mama Doggett.
Could be.
Yeah. I bet Terry was really happy that Grayson didn't have to scramble a whole lot.
Those moms get nervous every now and then, don't they?
They do, just a little bit. Yeah, Katie was always glad Ryan played defense. Didn't have to worry about him carrying the ball.
That's good.
Hey, we're going to bring in Ryan. Had your headphones off to Jordan and Mackay. We're going to bring these guys in for just a little bit. Talked about Jordan scoring the first touchdown. Mackay ended up with 21 carries for 166 yards and had 3 touchdowns. And so Mackay was the offensive player of the game, and Jordan was the defensive player of the game. For the game itself, announced it right. It was what is it? It's the
Derek Johnson Kickoff Classic.
Kickoff Classic. So they made those guys players of the game.
Yes.
But then I think you did as well, right? The
we
coaches
do.
did.
We have a whole bunch of things that we'll post after the coaches show on Tuesday or Wednesday that we send out to our team, whether it's, great blocks, great tackles, big plays, O&D and special teams player of the week. There'll be some JV things, academic awards, weight room awards. We want to make sure our kids notice that they're doing a great job. But it was definitely evident that one of the biggest plays was that pick 6 there. And then, of course, the spark by Mackay with his great running and kick returning, too.
Absolutely, yeah. He had 2 I think he had 2 kick returns for 72 yards as well. Hey, Jordan, bring that microphone right up to really close to your mouth. Mackay, you also. Jordan, talk a little bit about so game starts, and you heard us talking about y'all fall behind 7-0. And then the importance of the defense, knowing you're down 7-0, and the defense is going to have to step up and make a play, and then you were able to make that play.
Well, it's just a team effort and just a mindset that we don't really worry about how everything's going, and we just play our game and keep playing our game. So the guy passed it, it got tipped, caught, everybody started blocking. It was just great from all my teammates, and I thank all my teammates for it.
When did you know you were going to score?
I'm not
Come on, man, as soon as I touch the ball, come on.
So before I caught it, I slipped, and then I think it was one of their running backs, number 24, started chasing me, and my twin brother started blocking. It was a smart block, so he turned his back to him, so it wouldn't be a flag, and then I just kind of took off on the sideline.
You just gave your brother a shout-out for making a smart block. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
New rule: if he wouldn't have done that, he may have gotten a penalty with the blindside block.
Oh, that's right.
We
Yeah,
had
they're
talked
cracking
about
down on
that.
that
We
this year.
prepped it, so the fact that he
that's true.
Remember that, that was great.
Now, what if if Jordan had told you before the game started that he was going to score the first touchdown of the season, what would you have said?
You won't.
You said no way.
No, I'm going to score the first.
Of course.
I'm going to score.
Well, you ended up scoring 3 times as many as he did. So, So talk a little bit, Mackay, about what did you see out there when first half? I think we tended to throw the ball a little more. I think Grayson had about 170 yards throwing at halftime. Second half was when you just really exploded and you just took over the game. But talk a little bit about some of the holes the offensive line was creating for you.
Yeah, the holes were actually wide open, really. It's just that linebacker would sit there, so I would have to bounce it out just to get, like, around him because, like, sometimes it's not always going to work out going through the hole. But another thing, most of the time, you know, they were tackling me. They always tell me, we're stuffing you. You're not going nowhere. And I let them know, I was like, I'm going to get y'all. I'm going to get y'all. Sooner or later, I will get y'all. And so after that third quarter, I was gone.
You got 'em.
I was gone. They were tired.
Yeah, I think you got them. Do you you're fun to watch run because you will drag guys for 7-8 yards. We talk about it during the game. It looks like you're stopped for a 2 or 3 yard gain, and then the play's over, and it's like 2nd down and 2. All of a sudden you had 7 or 8 yards when it's all said and done. You like running over people, or you like running away from people?
Both.
Great
If I have to
answer.
run through, I'll run through. If I can go around, I'll go around.
Yeah. But once you get away from them, you know
I'm
you're
gone.
gone.
I'm
Yeah,
gone.
they're not catching you.
Well, you saw a couple plays down our sideline. They had the angle, and he still scooted right on past.
So
It was
fast.
beauty.
I was gassed on that play. I was actually kind of tired on that play. So he kind of caught up, but if I wasn't tired, I would have been gone. He would never caught me.
Oh, he didn't catch you anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
stumbled. I seen him.
Is that right?
Yes.
he stumbled. How hot was it out there, guys?
Hot.
It was
really
hot.
hot.
Yeah.
Actually, the first 2 drives, I was actually really tired.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting to be that hot, so I was gassed out.
My feet
But
were burning.
yeah,
Your feet were burning?
Yes, a lot.
I remember there was one year when Ryan played at Hutto. There was one year in preseason. He came home from practice. It was that year. Remember, Bryce? It was like 140 or 150 on the turf. I think it was Hendrickson. One of the news stations had gone out to Hendrickson, and they measured the turf, and they measured it like at 140 degrees. I remember him coming home from practice, and he said, the worst part about practice was my feet. It was so hot on your feet. Talk a little bit about how, because obviously there's a physical aspect to that, but there's a mental aspect too that you have to push through, right? When you're hot and you're tired, and how do you push through that mentally?
you want to talk about it, Jordan? Or you want me to talk about it?
No, you both can.
Okay, well, I just think about the team. Like, if I don't push through this, you know what I'm saying, people start going down. But if I push through this, everyone's going to push through this because they see that I'm working hard. They're going to start working hard. I see them working hard. I'm going to start working hard. So no one else complain. No one complain at all. I'm not going to complain. Keep going through.
Yeah, no complaining. Just do what you got to do. Do your job. Do what you got to do for the team. It's all about the team.
Well, that's one thing I'll say about Mackay. Mackay brings energy every single day to the team. He's always bouncing around, and sometimes I wonder if he's going to make it to the fourth quarter because he's used a lot of energy in the weight room workout, pregame and different things. But I tell you what, that's one thing that you do a great job of, Mackay, is you bring that energy. We love that.
Thank you, Coach. Thank you.
Well, and that's we've talked a lot about leadership, right? And these guys, 2 seniors, and this is leadership isn't always rah-rah and yelling and screaming. A lot of times leadership is example, right? And it's like you just said. It's I can't let my teammates down. I've got to do something. I've got to set an example for them and hope they pick up on that. So that's –
Well, if everybody's rah-rah and feels they need to be the vocal leader, they'll always be talking over each other. Where,
right.
You may say 10 words the entire season, but he's where he needs to be, when he needs to be, and doing the right thing. So if there's one leader and 40 followers – doing the right thing, we're in good shape. You only need one leader.
Right.
You'd like to have a little bit more, but, as long as we have kids doing the right thing and playing hard, they don't have to be the cheerleader, rah-rah type. So
Jordan's already used up his 10 words up here. He's about to fall asleep.
we'll go to the word bank and get him some more. We'll be fine.
Jordan, talk a little bit what it's like playing with your twin brother, y'all being on the team together, and is there a rivalry? Because I'm sure as twin brothers growing up, and I remember when your older brother played, and you guys probably looked up to him, to Malik, but with you guys side by side, has it always been a rivalry or is it more camaraderie?
A little bit of both. In practices, it's just rivalry. We talk to each other and stuff. But in games, when we're on the same side of the field, it's just like this.
Yeah.
Like this. We have a handshake and everything. It's really fun.
But it's fun for your mom and dad, too. They enjoy that. Could you imagine anything better than playing your senior season with your brother out there on the field beside you?
Nothing like it.
Yeah, that's great. So, what are your plans for next year? Do you know yet?
I plan on going to college for football. I know that for sure. But as to where, I'm not sure yet.
Yeah.
I want to stay somewhere in Texas.
Think you and Xavier, y'all want to try to stay together, or
Probably not.
no? It all ends in Hutto, right? You got one last year of together, and then going separate ways. Yeah,
Yes, sir.
that's all right. Makai, what are you thinking for next year? I know you're going to get you're going to start getting a lot of looks from folks.
Go to college for football, and after that, I really don't know yet.
Yeah,
But
you have a favorite?
college
Uh-huh.
right now, LSU.
Really? Mm-hmm. You and Landon, huh? You and Landon be out there at LSU together. So right now it's LSU. What might be also on the list?
North Texas,
Okay.
TCU,
Yeah.
Arkansas.
Okay. Can Chooks drag you out to Lubbock to Tech?
Hey, if he can,
Yeah.
if he can.
Okay. We'll tell Chooks you need to. Ryan and I are big Red Raiders, so I'll work on you this year about Tech. Brad knows that.
I knew you dragged that in there somehow.
Always,
all
absolutely.
good.
You got a chance to send some good Hutto kids to Tech? Absolutely, I'm going to do that. I don't think that's illegal recruiting.
No, 3's not enough anyway. We got Antonio out there. We got Castro. We got Chooks. We need
Exactly. Yep. Chooks got in the game the other night or the other day too.
Good.
Yeah, got back on a couple of punt returns. He didn't actually get to return them. The balls, they weren't good punts for him to return, but he got in. He got in the game.
Yes, he did.
Pretty exciting. Well, guys, appreciate y'all and a great game. Great start to the season. Looking forward to a great year by both of you. What do you think about Liberty Hill coming up?
Ooh, it's gonna be a good game.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was last year.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to score as much as they did last year.
I hope
Offense,
not.
we gonna rack
Guaranteed.
points up.
Okay.
It's gonna be a 60.
Uh-oh.
It's gonna be 60.
Uh-oh. Coach might not want you to be saying that.
As long as it's not me saying it.
Hey, could be some Liberty Hill people watching. So I'm not doubting you. I hope that happens. Hope you back that up.
Well, I think you know as well as I do, they know they're a good, formidable opponent. It's going to be
Absolutely.
a great
Yep.
game, but you got to go into it with some confidence. That's not throwing them under the bus. They
No,
know they've got to do a good job of
All we got to do is
getting
think
that
about
offense
last
off
year.
the field and keeping our offense going, and we'll be just fine.
All
Actually,
right.
a great team. Yeah,
Well,
that team's good.
We'll let Ryan slide back in here, but appreciate you guys. Congratulations on outstanding first
job,
game.
boys.
I have a
you for having
feeling
us.
we'll be talking to y'all again before the end of the year.
Yes, sir.
Stock up on your words, Jordan. Well, that's fun for you two to see. I mean, guys that are just, sharp guys that
Yes.
are representing the Hippos, not only on the field. We talk about that all the time. That these players don't just represent Hippo Nation on the field; they represent
Right.
Hippo Nation in
Right.
the community, in the classroom, everything else. So these are good
Ah,
kids.
two of our best ones right there. Good
Yeah.
hard workers, good kids.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk a little bit about Liberty Hill. First, before we do, just let me mention again, we're live from the Hippo Cafe. We do this every Monday night, 6 o'clock. Come out and join us. It's a lot of fun. Every week we'll have our Players of the Week out here, and we hope to I meant to tell these guys they need to bring more teammates out here, get out here and watch.
Sure.
And but anyway, sponsored by Koala Cooling and Kangaroo and Hippo Cafe. Appreciate Scott and Stacy Feller, what they do to bring us this show every Monday night. And it's so fun to be back where we started doing the coaches show 5 years ago with Van in this very building. So we've come a long way
We have.
since then. Yeah, we all have.
Full circle.
All right, well, let's talk Liberty Hill. First of all, obviously last year that Liberty Hill game was one of the most exciting one of the most exciting high school football games that we've ever seen. I think Bryce and I we've talked about how that College Station playoff game 3 or 4 years ago was amazing, and then that Liberty Hill game last year was kind of right behind that one in terms of excitement. From a fan's perspective. I'm not sure about from a coach's perspective and what that does for your blood pressure and everything else, but what did we learn from Liberty Hill last year?
Well, I'm going to go back to some of our players because, the style of football has changed. So when you get wing T, slot T, those types of offenses, even if you go to youth football on a Saturday morning, you're not going to see a lot of offenses like that being played anymore. So some of our kids that were playing in that varsity game last year, that may quite well have been the first time they've ever played against it, and especially at a high level because they've been running it for years. Very talented coaching staff leading up that system. They're very deceptive with the ball. 150, 160-pound kids, you don't see them playing that hard like you do when you play Liberty Hill.
Right.
And their pad level is so low. And so some of our kids that are 6'3", they're going to look at the kid that's 5'9", 175 and think, I got this, until their pad level is that low. And so it took time for us to adjust. That first and second quarter, there were longer runs and easier drives than even in the second half. So even our kids coming back know what to expect out of that offense, the deception of it, not playing deep, playing flatter. You have to play aggressive without going upfield. You can't wait and catch them. You have to punch and hold your ground to set the fence for them. And, of course, it'll be 3rd and 15, and the average fan will think, all right, here comes a screen or here comes a pass, and they'll run a trap right at your 3 technique for 18 yards and a first down. And it's not your typical play, but they catch you off guard. The speed, the deception. Every now and then it might even be questionable if they're even set because they hurry up and get going so fast. And that's tough because one time you have a 3-man surface, this time a center, next time you have a 2 and 2 wings, and the next time you have a 4, and the next time you have a 3 and a wing, the next time you have a 5-man surface to get them sprinting up, getting set, crossing out of the huddle, get lined up and play your technique and communicate to your buddy. That's a lot.
How do you go communicate or adjust to what they're showing you? Or is it just more of we're going to run this, just react?
Well, what we do right now is we have guys that are always set. Of course, when you have the 5-man surface, you can't. But if it's a 3x2 surface on the outside of the center, you can line up and just slide to the inside or outside shoulder of a guard or a tackle and have at least 4 people that don't have to move very far. Sometimes you may have a guy traveling with the wings back and forth. So he's got to know that guy's number. He's got to know if he went out substituting while he got the defensive signal over here and know where that guy is in the huddle, because if he travels over here, I got to go find him. There's a lot of things that come to it, and so then you've got the kids in the back that they've got to be the, kind of like the center fielder and shortstop in baseball. They've got to get people lined up, and if they're in the wrong gap for the Mike backer, they've got to slide the defensive lineman over and get them going.
So I got to think that that's a pretty good advantage for you guys, having 8 guys returning, having seen that last year and knowing kind of what that offense entails and how to react to it.
Well, when you can go and ask those kids who are mature and honest and say, Coach, we can't do this how we did it last year. All right, well, let's name it something different. What's going to make us less confused so we can line up better and play faster? So we called it this last year. What do you want to call it this year? Letting your kids do that so they know, instead of, hey, this is what we're going to call it, and they have to learn it. Why don't they just tell us, because we can have it on a sheet of paper and know what we're going to call it. It's easier to work that way. And the kids are good. They're honest. They know what to expect. We even may flip a guy to the other side because of what they do as well. He might be a better left-sided player than a right-sided player because we're going to try to keep some guys stagnant instead of flip-flopping them with the strength like you would a prototypical spread offense like we're facing now.
So is that something that you guys have worked on at all throughout the off season, or just kind of sprinkling that in just to get a taste for it?
Well, when you only have 1 week to prepare, if you're only doing it for 1 week, you're going to get beat. It's wrong. So the fact of the matter is we've lined up a couple times during spring ball. We've met with some coaching staffs over the summer that, veteran coaches that maybe coached it for 30 years on the offensive side. All right, if we line up here consistently, what are you going to try to attack? All right, what about if we line up here? Okay, give me some down and distance things. Of course, then you go to some defenses that have played against them. You got Taylor, you've got Bernie, you've got La Vegas. Talk to those types of staff. What works, what didn't. And they may come back and ask us, what type of kids do you have? Do you have a big 220-pound Mike linebacker, or do you have the smaller guy? What's your defensive line like? Here's what I would do. Here's how I would line up. Here's what I would attack. Here's what if you line up in this style of defense, what you can expect to give up. Well, if you're telling the kids that here's what we're giving up, about lining up. How can they be frustrated? They know going into it, here's what we're going to give up, but we're going to take away these 4 things to give up that one play call. And we're trying to find the tendencies. And, of course, when you play them at this time of the year, you have a scrimmage in first game. There aren't a lot of tendencies.
Not a lot of tendencies.
Correct.
And I know a lot of folks are going to look at Liberty Hill and see that they lost a lot of people from last year's team, just like we did, and think that, they might not be as efficient in that offense. But that school, that team, they've been running that offense forever.
Correct.
And a team that runs that offense as precise as they run it, they just plug guys in, and
no,
they
do.
just keep
they
doing
run it
the
all the way
same
down
thing.
into the Little League.
They start off
yeah.
when they're young.
Well, that's the vertical alignment that we talked about with the 7-on-7 in our passing style of offense. Our 6th, 7th, and 8th graders are all doing it. Well, that's what they have done with their town and their tradition, and I hope that we can say 20 years down the road that this offense has stayed around, and we're that that type that has stuck around. But they'll just find the next guy to step in and play hard. You just know that's what it's going to be.
I was talking to their superintendent, Steve Snell, last week, and he's he used to be in Hutto and all that, and we were talking. He was like, "Oh, we lost a lot of guys. It's going to be," he was doing that whole thing. A lot of those guys, they were that Harrison kid that ran all over us last year. He was like a state track sprinter for them, as are some of their linemen, because you don't have to be big linemen in that offense.
Correct.
But anyway, he was giving me that. I was like, Steve, all they do, you guys just plug more guys in, and y'all keep it. I don't remember who they played last Friday night.
Glenn.
They destroyed. Yeah, they destroyed them. I think I don't beat them by 30 or so. So clearly, they're just as good as always, and we're going to have to do the things that we do and do them well.
Well, and that's what we want. It was a fun game. It was a packed crowd. It's a good rivalry. A lot of people know each other. We play at the junior high level throughout all the sports, and of course, when they've been in 4A and we moved up to 5A, that's when we kind of broke away from each other. But the fact that we've been, formidable district opponents for the younger kids, and we used to be at the varsity level in each other's district, it's been a fun game here for these 2 years.
Well, I'll tell you, as fast as Liberty Hill's growing out there, it might not be too long until we're in the same district.
True.
They'll be up there. They'll be up there with us here pretty soon. But yeah, it should be a fun game. We hope a lot of Hippos will travel over to Liberty Hill, just like they brought a lot of folks over. Just a reminder, it's a 7:30 game. It's not 7 o'clock. Most of our games are at 7 o'clock, but this one Friday night is 7:30. So, good side of that. Good point of that is if people don't remember that, then they're just going to be early versus being late.
Good.
So that's fine. But yeah, we want a lot of folks over there. We need a lot of folks over there. They have a nice new stadium they built a few years ago.
It's beautiful.
Looking forward to it. We played a playoff baseball game in their new baseball complex a couple of years ago, and it was really nice. But looking forward to their football stadium and their nice press box they have, and seeing what that's all about. So, hoping that Bryce's microphone works from the sidelines. We'll see.
Everybody's going through those first game things you got to work out.
Absolutely. But, it should be an exciting one. All right, one last thing I want to talk about, the game on Saturday. It's our kicking game. Not so much the kicking game, but the blocking on the kicking game. What was going on?
Well, part of it starts with the long snapper. Some kids have thin feet, are real good bend in the knee, and they keep their feet within the framework. Some long snappers, they have this angle, their feet are wider to get their arms extended to get a better snap. And when you're talking centers and long snappers, you care about one thing, the snap.
Right.
So you can't adjust too many things with their feet, with their hips, with their shoulders, with their arm length if the snap is right where you want to be at this point. So the fact of the matter is the feet were wide. Our kids weren't stepping down inside. They would step back and create a gap between the center and the guard instead of stepping down flat, like we talked defensively too. But the other part of it is their timing was impeccable. They had 2 kids going through there. The other part of it is you could argue, if you looked at on film, that the kids were jumping over the center's shoulder. If they're going over his ankles, they're not jumping the center. So we had a few of those conversations.
I saw you talk to the official a couple of times.
And that's, again, that's one thing that you always start with your normal base splits, see what the kids can do. I've never, ever widened them out. We've always tightened them down, because the minute you start to tighten everything down, then on the edge, like you saw Brock doing a great job hustling and just tight off that hip. He did a good job with that. You can't create, that edge. But, again, a couple of the guys that had earned spots had only practiced that maybe 3 days. So you're going to go through some of that. And unfortunately, the biggest issue, we left probably 7 points out there.
Sure.
But the biggest issue was our kickers got hit.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue when you can lose a kid on something like that. But, then you saw that we put our snap down play in, and that was something that we put in during halftime. So our kids took coaching at halftime and put in something that, maybe you hadn't got to on your install during fall camp. So the fact that we're able to put something in during the game, they followed through, kind of slowed it down a little bit, and we got multiple people going in where now, okay, it's just like offense and defense. You're going to have new starters next week because somebody's going to get that much better during the course of week 1. We'll have different personnel on it next week because kids did a good job.
So is that something that you guys were very intentional about working on this morning?
Well, generally speaking, there's 3 days that you work on PAT and PAT block. And, again, you're trying to find the balance. So if you pull defensive guys over on your field goal unit, then you're going against maybe a JV kid. Well, when you have a 170-pound JV kid that's 5'11", and now you put a 6'5", 230-pound kid that's a little excited about life going through A-gap, that's a big difference. So some of it is just you can replicate things in practice, but you can't always replicate others. Or, again, when you do that and you say, all right, send 14 guys over there. If we can block 14, we can block any 11. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
And then somebody goes limping off, and you lose a kid. So, we got to take care of our kids, but we also got to get better and find that balance too. And we did it today. It's always in our Monday practice plan. So shore it up and get better.
There was one time during the game, Bryce said that the guy was back there so fast that he should have been the holder.
He was quick. He was quick.
He was ready to hold.
But the other part of it is, how natural is it for you just to stand there and let that guy go full speed and just take it? That's not a natural thing.
Right.
So sometimes you'll hear me in practice say it's not a pillow fight, it's a street fight. And, you got to have that mentality that I own this gap.
Yeah.
And you will not go through that while you're keeping your feet set. Because if you run your feet, now the next gap opens for your other buddy.
You're just kind of playing Red Rover on that deal, right? Don't let anybody come over. Number 72 for them. What'd you think of that
Big cat.
monstrosity?
Big cat.
Wow. What'd you think about him?
Broad shoulders, man.
Did you notice how on their kickoffs they were putting him deep, and I think trying to hide number 6 behind him?
Well, he was on kick return, kickoff. He was on their shield punt.
Yeah. He was one that finally cramped up too, but whoa, he was big.
Big kid. Well,
he was big from way up in the press box.
They had some people on their offensive line that were pretty big too, and you had a couple that didn't play on their sideline. That God, they must have been 6'5" or better.
Wow.
God, they were big kids.
Good thing they didn't play.
That's right.
I guess. All right. What was your if you had say your top 2 or 3 takeaways from this first game? What would they be?
I think, judging by the message I got from one of their coaches this morning, our defensive line is going to be really, really good. They weren't perfect, but everybody is going to fear that defensive line. So I know the offensive coordinators facing our defensive line are already thinking about that. Well, that's only going to help out our linebackers and our secondary.
Right.
That's really going to be. But I thought we ran to the ball really well on defense. And then, just the fact that we grew during the course of the game offensively in many areas was big. And again, that goes back to our defensive line. It's hard to block those 3. It's hard.
Sure.
It's tough. And we've got kids that haven't played varsity downs before, and they'll get beat 12 plays in a row, and all of a sudden the 13th they'll finally win one. And you can see, okay, now I'm finally getting it. I'm tough enough. I'm big enough. I'm fast enough. I'm strong enough. I finally know the playbook maybe, and I can do the right thing. So those are all the things that, okay, now you finally get to an opponent, and I'm not going against that same Division I kid, and I can handle myself, and now my feet are running, and I'm getting after it. It's good. So, but it does, when Mackay gives us that energy, and now the quarterback plays a little bit better, the receivers got a little hop in their step, the offensive line starts to play well. It just takes that one guy to lead us, and I thought that's one great thing that Mackay did on Saturday.
Well, and just I think the confidence factor, right, for that offensive line, who, I think everybody would admit that was the one thing that probably a little concerned about or just curious about, if not concerned, but was that offensive line. And I think when they began to make those plays and open those holes, and guys are Makai's making big runs, and
Yes,
Grayson
sir.
has time to throw and all that. It's just a confidence that's just building in that offensive line of, hey, we can be all right.
Well, it is. And, again, we're going back to a couple kids that maybe only practiced for 4 days because of injuries or whatever it was. And what are they going to do next week? How much better are they going to be after
Sure.
4 more good – we fixed some things on film with those guys this morning that, we just went through our terminology on 3 different plays. And one of them looked over. I'm like, the light bulb just clicked, didn't it?
That's
And
great.
now he played that much better.
Yeah.
And he only missed 1 time on that play during practice today. So just little things like that. Just like I told him, it's like Novocaine. Give it time, and it'll work. If they'll
Right.
come to practice and do our everyday drills and get the terminology, they watch film, get with their buddies, all that sort of stuff, good things are eventually going to happen. If they care enough to take the coaching and do the extra things outside, they'll be just fine, and they will.
Well, and just like last year, obviously it's the same schedule as last year, so you're playing quality opponents in your non-district
Yes, sir.
schedule, and by the time district rolls around, we will know how good the Hippos
Absolutely.
are. But it was certainly a great start Saturday, game 1, getting that big win.
Yes, it was. Proud of
Over-
our coaches getting our kids ready, and kids played hard, so they did a good job.
All right. Speaking of confidence, we'll go to our picks now. Boy, we let Gage get off to a hot start on all the picks. Gage went 9-3-1. There was one because there was a push on one of the college
Hey, but
games.
you realize
on
we
the
can't
A&M
have
game.
a phone out here, and he's got the spread pulled up behind his little
Yeah,
monitor
he's-
sheet, and
he's
you
back
know
there.
he's looking at all that stuff,
That's
right?
probably true.
Come on, man.
So Gage went 9-3-1. Ryan went 6-6-1, and you and I are 4-8-1. So we're already a whopping 5 games back of him. Here's the deal, Mr. High School Coach. You went 1-5 in the high school picks. That's where you struggled.
But I went 1-0 in the game I was involved in, so that's all that matters.
That's right. That's all that matters. All right, here's the picks for this week. I sent you guys I sent them to you earlier in the day, the college picks, so that y'all could be thinking about it, so you don't accuse me. But here's the deal:
Where's your cheat sheet, Ryan?
each
It's
week,
up here.
the guy that's leading has to go first, so that we can. Last time I think Gage was just picking opposite of all of us.
Does he make up rules
All
like
the
this?
time. All
Did
the
he
time.
always do that?
All the time.
Give myself a chance to win. All right, first game. We're going. It's actually tonight. Notre Dame at Louisville. Notre Dame's favored by 18.5. Gage. Louisville. Ryan.
Louisville.
Brad.
Catholics.
All right. I'm going Louisville. 18.5. That's a lot of points. Even though Louisville was terrible last year, won 2 games, I think. All right. UTSA at Baylor. Baylor's favored by 27. Gage. Baylor. Ryan.
I'm going to go with the Bears.
Go Bears here, too.
I think it's Bears across the board. San Diego State at UCLA. I threw that in there for Chase. Do you see Chase got some TV time the other day? He was standing right next to Chip Kelly on the sidelines. UCLA's favored by 7. Gage? San Diego. Ryan?
Tell you what, they should have won that game if their quarterback could even hold on to the
I
football.
know. Chase
So
needs to
Chase could
Chase
do
needs to
that.
be in playing.
Yeah. Give me the Bruins.
Bruins here, too.
I'm going Bruins as well. All right. Minnesota, because we always do Minnesota for you. Minnesota.
But they're not my team. You realize that. I don't have
But
a
you're
team.
from there, so I feel like I have to do Minnesota.
Okay, so everybody in the audience, wherever you're from, we're going to put that on them, right?
If they get
I
up
got
here,
down here as
if they
fast as
sit
I
in
could.
one of
We've
these
covered
seats,
this before.
if they sit in one
They
of these
sent me
seats,
back, I came back again.
Yeah. All right, you want me to scratch Minnesota from
No,
the picks
you're
each
fine.
week? Minnesota at Fresno State. Minnesota's favored by 3. Fresno State hung with USC, which doesn't really say anything. USC is terrible, but
He's
Gophers.
first, right?
Oh, yeah,
He's first.
Gage, sorry. Huh? Minnesota. Ryan.
Need a coin?
Yeah, give me Fresno State.
Okay.
Go Gophers.
I'm going Gophers as well. UTEP at Tech. Tech's 34-point favorite. UTEP, I think UTEP beat Houston Baptist by 2.
Yep.
Huh? Tech? 34 points is a lot. Ryan?
I'm going to go with Tech, actually.
Brad?
I'm going to go Tech. So we've got
I'm
we've
going
got
Tech
Chooks,
as well.
we've got Castro, we've got Antonio Valdez, and then UTEP we've got Carrington Mitchell. on
Oh, I
that
forgot
team.
about
So
him.
a
That's
lot of
right.
hippos there.
Yeah.
I think I got them all there.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, then the two big ones. These really probably only two good college football games next Saturday. A&M at Clemson. Clemson's favored by 18. Gage, huh? A&M. Ryan.
Tigers by 40.
18 was the spread.
18.
Where's it at?
It's at
Clemson.
Clemson.
All right, Clemson.
Yeah, I think I got to go Clemson too. Just couldn't tell anything. A&M playing Texas State, and then LSU at UT. LSU 4.5-point favorite. UT, Ryan.
Tigers by 40.
LSU.
LSU. I'm going LSU as well. All right, our high school games. Leander at Pflugerville. Gage. Pflugerville. Pflugerville got beat this past weekend. Ryan?
Leander.
Pflugerville.
I'll go Leander as well. Anderson at Rouse. Rouse. Ryan.
Rouse, I guess.
Bradley.
Rouse.
I'm going Anderson. Cedar Ridge at Cedar Park. That could be a good game. Cedar Ridge. Ryan.
Give me Cedar Ridge.
The Ridge.
Woo, Cedar Ridge across the board. I hope our Cedar Park crowns aren't watching. They got shut out.
I was surprised, but I was really surprised by that.
Vandergrift is a good team,
They
but
are.
I was surprised
They are.
that they got shut out, 17-0. That was. I said, when's the last time that Cedar Park and Lake Travis both lost in game one
Right.
of the season? Lake Travis kind of got theirs handed to them.
They don't get any cupcakes in their non-district schedule because nobody wants to play them. So
They don't.
I'll give them that.
Georgetown at Waco. Georgetown was kind of impressive over Wiley this past week. Georgetown.
Georgetown.
Across the board, Georgetown. Conley at Del Valle. Conley had like a 51-49 kind of game. Del Valle?
Yeah, I'm with Gage.
Del Valle.
Everybody's going Del Valle. And Manor at Copper Cove. Manor got beat. We all picked Manor last week, and
was
they
surprising.
got beat. Yeah, Manor at Copper's Cove. Copper's Cove. Ryan?
Let's try Manor again.
Going Manor, too.
I'm going Manor. Oh, we can all make up a game on Gage on that one. Or he can pull ahead by yet
or
another
not.
one. All right, so we'll see here. It's a long season. His 5-game lead is nothing. We'll make up for that.
You'll have some double or nothing scenario, and you're losing by
I'll do
20
something.
games.
I got to do something.
New rule every week. You'll be fine.
Absolutely. Anything that still keeps me in it. Absolutely. All right, Friday night, it's Liberty Hill. It should be a great game. Obviously, again, we want everybody to come out and watch the Hippos play. And if you were spoiled by this Saturday getting to watch the game, the streaming, remember, when we play on Friday nights, we're not able to stream the games live. UIL has some weird rule that you can only do it on non-Friday games. But the game will be, so you can still listen to it on the same channel. We'll have the link up on hipposports.com. You can listen to it. And then after midnight, the video of the game will be available throughout the weekend for folks that want to watch it.
Yes, sir.
That they can go back and just watch the game and hopefully watch a Hippo win against Liberty Hill. So hopefully we'll be back here next Monday night, 2-0 on the season. Come join us next Monday night here at Hippo Cafe for the Coaches Show. Before then, go to Liberty Hill. 7:30 start. Remember, it's 7:30, not 7 o'clock. This Friday night, and let's get the Hippos 2-0 on the season, and we'll be back here. Thanks again to Scott and Stacy Feller for sponsoring the Coaches Show every Monday night here from the Hippo Cafe, along with Koala Cooling and Kangaroo Roof. We will see you Friday night in Liberty Hill. Thanks for joining us.